John will let you know when.
Okay. That's when we'll put food in. We'll start on the right.
Right, yeah, that's
It's not time yet, right?
no, it'll be, yeah, it'll
I'll be glad to do this. You're welcome.
Good afternoon. Today we're here to celebrate the life of Irene Duroe. On behalf of the family, we want to say thank you for taking time of your day, for traveling from far away and coming to celebrate a life well lived. We're going to begin with a word of prayer. Today, God, we thank you for the opportunity of knowing Irene. We also thank you for the opportunity of pretty soon, in your second coming, being able to meet with Irene again as you come back and you call us to live with you forever. Today, God, we are here to celebrate her life, which was touched by you. So we're here to worship you as well. Thank you for being with us. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. As we start today, we are going to sing Joyful, Joyful. It was the hymn that John and Irene sang in their wedding. Am I correct? It's correct. So today, as we sing Joyful, Joyful, we invite you to join us. That's one. John? Yes. And there was a prayer in that hymn that God answered that prayer. So I invite you guys to stand up as we sing Joyful, Joyful.
It's fine. It's the first third of that one. They'll figure it out. Joyful, joyful, we adore thee, God of glory, Lord of love. Hearts unfold like clouds before thee, hail thee as the sun above. Melt the clouds of sin and sadness, drive the dark of doubt away. Giver of immortal gladness, fill us with the light of day. All thy works with joy surround thee, earth and heaven reflect thy rays. Stars and angels sing around thee, center of unbroken praise. Field and forest, vale and mountain, blossoming meadow, flashing sea, chanting bird and flowing fountain, call us to rejoice in thee. Thou art giving and forgiving, ever blessing, ever blessed, wellspring of the joy of living, ocean depth of happy rest. Thou the Father, Christ our brother, all who live in love are thine. Teach us how to love each other, lift us to the joy divine.
Revelation 21, verse 1 through 7. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. And I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, Behold, the dwelling place of God is with men. He will dwell with them, and they will be his people, and God himself will be with them as their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more. Neither shall there be mourning, nor crying, nor pain any more, for the former things have passed away. And he who was seated on the throne said, Behold, I am making all things new. Also he said, Write these things down, for these words are trustworthy and true. And he said to me, It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To the thirsty, I will give from the spring of water, life without payment. The one who conquers will have this heritage, and I will be his God, and he will be my son, and he will be my son. We're now going to read from Psalms 100. Make a joyful noise to the Lord, all the earth. Serve the Lord with gladness. Come into his presence with singing. Know that the Lord, he is good. It is he who made us, and we are his. We are his people and the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him. Bless his name. For the Lord is good. His steadfast love endures forever, and his faithfulness to all generations. Beth?
I'd like to say some things about Irene later. I'm not going to say them yet. But I hope this song is a blessing. I'm kind of home, sick for a country to which I've never been before. No sad goodbyes will there be spoken, and time won't matter anymore. Beulah land, I am longing for you, and someday on thee I'll stand, where my home shall be eternal. Beulah land, sweet Beulah land. I'm looking now across that river to where my faith shall end in sight. There's just a few more days to labor, then we'll take our heavenly flight. Beulah land, I am longing for you, and someday on thee I'll stand, eternal Beulah land, sweet Beulah land. Beulah land, I'm longing for you, and someday on thee I'll stand, where my home shall be eternal. Beulah land, sweet Beulah land. Beulah land, sweet Beulah land.
Thank you, Beth. That reminded me of your dad. So Irene was 8 years old, and I saw her standing with her brother, John, on the steps of the town hall in Watford, England. I said to her, to make friends, try and make friends, can I show you a trick with a handkerchief and a matchstick? But 12 years later, we were chatting daily over dirty dishes in the cafeteria of Newbold College. After Irene started nursing school at the London Jewish Hospital, I often hitchhiked up there to see her. Together, we walked the streets of London and we realized that we'd fallen in love. Married life started in Birmingham, and Irene was given a job by our senior pastor. He looked at Irene and he said, Irene, please help Mr. Deacon prepare for baptism. And Mr. Deacon had a place to sleep at night, but that was about all. He lived on the streets. He was a street person. So every Friday night, Irene would cook him a meal, and he'd have a bath, and then he'd put on his Sabbath clothes, and he'd be ready for church the next day. Well, she never complained. Mr. Deacon was baptized, and it was a couple of years later that we visited the church, and there was Mr. Deacon standing in the middle of the church choir. In the next place of ministry, Irene was given whole families to take care of because we had a new coal porter in town, Roy, and his wife Carmen, and they were giving me so many names. Friday night, it was like a hotel in our house. The town's welfare officer said to us, well, we would like you to foster at least one child. So we ended up with Diane, 11-year-old foster daughter, plus our 2 boys that we had by this time. Each week, we rolled up all the carpets in the house and we had Pathfinder Club. Irene never complained. Every Christmas, we still receive a greeting card from Carmen. She still remembers her friend Irene. In the next church, we had quite an active youth club, and we decided that we were going to have a Voice of Youth campaign. So Irene started to preach. She learned how to preach. She became quite a good preacher. Also, while we were at that church, there was a field school of evangelism from Andrews University. They came over, and I was one of the local pastors working with them. And eventually, one of those teachers that was with that group sent me an invitation to come to the States and work in the Georgia Cumberland Conference. So that's how we got over here. So when we got to America, Irene set up home in Athens, Georgia, and I think I'm going to read something from Jim. Jim was one of the students at Georgia University, and this is what he said. John and Irene were our best friends when my wife and I lived in Athens, Georgia, where I was a student at the university. We had very little money, but friendship with John, Irene, Linwood, and Julian made life fun. I recall thinking, Irene was so British, and that was lovely. She always exhibited a fine sense of adventure and wonderment. She was fun to be with. I can still hear her voice a half-century later. We have such fond memories of this delightful lady. May her family be graced with beautiful memories and blessed with a sense of peace and hope. Next stop, Augusta, a church with 8 dentists. So they all complained to us about the terrible English dentists, and they set to work to give Irene a full set of straightly aligned teeth. Dale, our church secretary, became Irene's best friend, and after she dropped her boys at school, she would call Irene, and together they would go to this exercise place. And I'm not sure what they did there, but they did something. But Dale became Margot's godmother, and Margot, come up and read something from the letter, because Dale wasn't able to be here today. Her husband's got some medical problems. But she sent a nice letter, and I asked, she talked about the boys, her boys and our boys getting together, but then she talked about Margot.
We went somewhere to do exercise, but I remember that because I was very young, but I had a leotard, like a black leotard. What kind of exercise did we do back then? But we had black leotards on. And then Margot came along. Irene really wanted a little girl, and the Lord blessed her with a beautiful little red head. People look at me now and say I'm blonde. Their biggest problem was what to name the child, and the hospital would not let Irene or the baby leave until they had a name on her birth certificate. In England, it's not like that, so they didn't expect that. My parents didn't, and they didn't know what to name me yet. I cannot remember what they put down, but I do remember that they put down Estella, but that in a very short time after her birth, they started calling me Margot. She became Margot. She was an adorable child, and the entire Duroe family and church doted on her. Irene was never one to criticize folks. She was always cheerful and had a smile for everyone. She was patient with me and her children. Not as sure how patient she was with John. I thought that was funny. She would volunteer to do anything she could at church to help out and keep things going. I learned a lot from her on how to be more outgoing, helpful to others, and a friend to everyone. She did not put on a display of being Christ-like. She was Christ-like in accepting others and encouraging them to be better. She was an amazing woman. When they left Augusta, we all cried.
Thank you, my little redhead. So the parsonage was just up the road from the church in Augusta, and it was we had quite a nice big room there. So every month we had a birthday party for anyone who had had a birthday during that month. Every Sabbath, the house was always full of people. But after 8 years in the US, we decided we ought to go home and visit our parents. So we sold everything, gave away our furniture to someone who was setting up a house, went over to England, moved into student apartments at Newbold College, and we were there for 2 years. And we met lots of old friends like Barbara and Henry and Jeanette Mead. That was very interesting because Jeanette Mead sent a card, a condolence card, and she said, "Do you remember visiting us when we lived on an island in the Thames?" And I do remember that very, very well. There was a little island on the Thames, and after lunch, we got into their boat, and they took us down the River Thames to Hampton Court, one of the King's favourite places. I also remember something interesting about that Hampton Court as well, because on a previous visit to Hampton Court, Irene was taking some photographs using her cell phone, and she stepped over a curbstone onto what she thought was a green grassy lawn, but it wasn't. It was chickweed that had covered this pond, and she went head first into the water, and I very gallantly stripped off to my underpants, dived in, and came up with the cell phone. And we put it in rice overnight, and it was working again the next day. But Margot could probably tell you a more interesting story about how we got Irene's clothes dried. What did you do, Margot? And then Margot said that people were complaining because she was taking up space. But my mom kept saying, "I can just go home, Mother, go home." "Oh, I'm going to the show." "You're not going home after she's fallen in the pond. You're going to the show." Well, Irene worked at the local hospital, Old People's Hospital, in Binfield, that's near Newbold College. But the MDiv that I was doing had to be finished at Andrews University. So we piled all our stuff into an old English taxi, London taxi, shipped it over to Newark, and then drove to Andrews University. And then Irene got a job in rehab, the rehab department at Bury and General Hospital. She never complained. Although she was a little frustrated sometimes with the snowy mornings in Michigan, trying to get to work. She described doing wheelies around in the middle of the road because she couldn't drive on the ice. Just about to graduate, and I was asked a question. John, do you still have a UK passport? We're having difficulty getting Americans into Pakistan, and we need a youth director. Would you be willing to go? So I said, okay. So Irene was introduced to camping, mountain camping, college teaching, clinic, village clinic, and a sick baby. And you all know Sonia, although that's a new story. I won't start on that one. But after 6 years in Pakistan, we were back at Andrews University, and Irene was given the job of head of rehab department at Bury General Hospital. I don't know how she did that. I think she just interviewed well. After graduation, we were given a nice valley in West Virginia where I got a Christmas card, and a condolence card from Phyllis there. And Phyllis said she remembers Irene going caving and coming out of the cave covered in mud and always ready to have fun, she said. We bought our first house in West Virginia, but then quickly sold it when we got a call to go to Singapore as the Global Mission and Ministerial Director in Singapore. Well, while we were there in Singapore, Irene made some more friends. We've got a friend over here. Do we have a microphone we could give to Hillary? Hillary, over here.
Testing, testing, testing.
So we already knew John and Irene when we moved to Singapore for my husband's work, and I was pretty sure I wouldn't know anybody there. And never having lived in Asia before, it was quite a move for us. You had work, but I didn't know anybody. So we were absolutely thrilled when we found out that John and Irene were there. And they took us under their wing and took us home and to their place and told us lots of stories. And it was just a thrill to be with Irene again. As everybody has said, she's such a positive person, upbeat, always had a smile on her face. And she couldn't wait to take me to an Indian restaurant. I think she wanted to see what my reaction would be. So with Lamorna Riches, we went to this Indian restaurant, and they ordered things that I had never heard of, and I knew that it was quite common to eat with your hands, but I'd never done it before. And these two just tucked in, and so I kind of looked at them, and there were no knives and forks, so I just tucked in as well. And I thought, well, this is almost like being in Finland and going to a sauna for the first time. You just look around and do what everybody else is doing. And from then on, there was nothing I didn't want to try, because Irene, she told me, she was the epitome of good fun. And I thought, I want to be brave like her. And so I'm going to try anything and everything. But what I really, really remember and cherish are the conversations that Brenda, Irene, and myself had. Excuse me, I'm not very good at this. We just had beautiful spiritual discussions, and we had all been raised in the church, and we were still trying to figure things out and figure out standards and principles and spiritual things. And we just had the best conversations, very open. And what I will always remember about Irene was her ready smile. Sorry. Her ready smile. And even if she was complaining about something or didn't like something, she said it with a smile on her face. And so you never really were offended by anything. And thank you. Let's see, I didn't write this down. Maybe I should have. Yeah, Irene loved her church. She loved her family fiercely. John, you were her rock. And as I was thinking about what I would say this afternoon, I thought, wow, we really did have a lot of things in common. Not only were we English living in America, we'd been together in England. We were both nurses, and we had a lot of stories to share about that. But we also both have sons named Julian. And I look forward to seeing her again one day.
Amen.
Thank you, Hilary. We moved around quite a bit in Singapore because we were in the process of moving the division office to the Philippines. And she never complained. You said she was complaining with a smile on her face. She never complained. Well, when we were in when we were in the Philippines, then that was just a small town, and the division office decided that they wanted to make a contribution to the neighborhood, so they employed Irene together with another worker from the seminary there, and gave them a budget and told them to go and do community work in the neighborhood. So that's what happened. They joined the Seroptimus Club, which is like a Lions Club. It's a service organization. And they were very thrilled when Irene and Elizabeth came along, because they had no money, but Irene came with a budget. So they started work there, and it was very interesting what they did. I'm going to, I think it's at this time, we'll show a little video of what it was like in Silang and what the work involved that she was doing there. Okay?
Dr. Jose Rizal, a medical doctor, writer, and outspoken Philippine reformer, a hero and martyr for his country, watches over our town plaza in Silang. Every year on Rizal Day, wreaths are laid in his memory. Mrs. Irene Duroe, our Southern Asia Pacific Division Community Liaison Worker, was there to represent SSD. Irene has been chosen and given a budget by SSD to reach out to our local town community, to make friends, work with town officials and local civic clubs. The monument of Rizal stands in front of our historic church and our town hall, where every Monday morning the civil servants meet for worship, exercise and encouragement from the mayor. This September, SSD made a presentation to the mayor of 8 fetoscopes to be used by his town midwives. He presented SSD with a certificate of appreciation for our part in his birthday celebrations in the town plaza, where we gave away samples of healthy food and set up booths to promote healthy living. Cherito Pobletti has just been inaugurated as Silang's new mayor. Irene shared with him plans for SSD's contribution to the town's community projects, and he offered us the services of the newly appointed Community Services Coordinator. SSD stands on the bypass of Silang in Cavite, Philippines, but it does not bypass the community. In fact, each year for the last 5 years, it has received a certificate of appreciation from the Mayor's office for actively taking part and contributing to a healthy and progressive community. SSD works with our Southern Asia Graduate School, IS, also situated in Silang, the local town health department, and local civic clubs like the Seroptimists International Club. Each year, 2 local schools are chosen and malnourished children are picked for a special 3-month feeding program. Parents of the children are taught how to prepare nutritious meals, blenders and soya beans are provided, and mothers are taught how to make soya milk, taho, and other soya products. Our projects for this last year included one of our most successful feeding programs in the district of Iba. For a 3-month period, malnourished children in the Iba school were fed healthy food daily. At a Christmas graduation program, our SSD staff helped us celebrate, together with the local mayor's wife and the Manila Seroptimist president. Gifts were given, and we celebrated with a party. SSD, the Silang Seroptimist Club, and all the local mothers who helped to cook were thanked. Baliti 2 is another suburb of Silang where we formed a mothers' club, taught healthy cooking, and ran a school feeding program for the malnourished children. This place was chosen for us by the local health department because it has the highest concentration of malnourished children in the Silang area. In Bigawan district, the children eagerly file in each afternoon and receive a meal of soya products and pancit or rice. Their empty plates and smiling faces testify of their thankfulness for each meal they receive.
When Irene died, the first person to send me a condolence was Elizabeth, and she sent a tribute to Irene. She said Irene made a great contribution in the community of Silang, and she talks about all the feeding programs, family planning, New Start programs, income generating things. Some of the bags that the ladies made there in Silang were sold on the streets in London, giving away wheelchairs for disabled people, Christmas bags, scholarships for deserving students at the university. And then she said, and this we're coining the phrase, and she never complained. Very hard-working lady, great mom, great grandmother, great wife, with a heart of gold overflowing with love. There is no one like her. And I was married to her. I was very lucky. Okay, how did we get to Greenville, Tennessee? Well, Brooke and Pat Sadler, I met them in the Philippines, and they were eating supper at our house, and they said, "Where are you thinking of retiring when you've come back to the States?" And we said, "Oh, not quite sure. Maybe West Virginia, maybe, or Carolina." He said, "No," he said, "you need to come to Greenville, Tennessee." He said, "Next time you're home, come and stay with us." So that's what we did. And then Esther said, "Oh, let me build you a house." And she did. And so we're enjoying that house today, and we're enjoying our retirement in Greenville here, Riverview, and we'll soon be enjoying our time in the new church in a couple of months. Very nice. So nursing, she worked as a nurse at Tacoma, but that wasn't enough for Irene. She also worked in the prison ministry, and she helped lots of ladies through with their addiction. Well, let me show you a few more pictures of Irene. Let's see some more pictures of Irene. And then I'm going to open the mic, and there may be some other people that would like to say something. So you can see I'm going to miss her. I loved her. And I love her still. Okay. What is someone else like to say something? Marla. James, give the mic.
Thank you. I first met John and Irene when my husband and I were at Newbold College. And John was the Dean of Men. And every summer, the last month before the school started again, the cafeteria closed on weekends. So we would host a meal on the weekends for any students who were around. And John and Irene happened to come over. I don't know if, were you there, Margot, too? I don't remember. Probably. Okay. And that was where we first met John and Irene, when they came to our house for, I mean, it was a simple meal because there were usually like 20 or 30 kids. So it was like soup and bread and some kind of dessert. Anyway, that's where we first met John and Irene. And then they were already in Pakistan when my husband and I were asked to go there. Well, John was asked to go there. I followed. And we ended up living right across the street from the Duroes. And that first week after we arrived, John came over with a Tupperware lettuce container. Yeah, I don't know if you remember the lettuce keeper from Tupperware, with fresh veggies from his garden, you know, cucumbers and tomatoes and stuff like that. And I didn't get the container returned back right away. And Irene needed it. So she came over and my maid was at home. Yes, you have maids in the mission field. If you don't, they don't have work. So it works well both ways. So I also had a lettuce keeper, a brand new one that somebody had given me as a gift before we left Newbold. And Irene took mine. So we were getting ready to move to another town nearby where the Pakistan Adventist Seminary is, because John was going to be working there. And so I took Irene's lettuce keeper and I said, I think you have mine. And she looked at it and she said, oh, mine isn't scratched like that one. So I left it because, you know, I'm not going to lose a good friend over a lettuce keeper. And I mean, Irene and
I wondered what you were doing rummaging through my cupboard today.
So, you know, Irene and I had loads of fun together in Pakistan. We'd go shopping together quite a lot. And then when we moved, she and I would meet in town. And so we were very sad when they left Pakistan. Then we moved, we went to Thailand, and then we moved to Andrews University. And John and Irene came for a visit one time. And I had Irene's lettuce keeper out. And Irene said, oh, I left mine in the Philippines. I gave it to somebody there. So I think my husband is the one. I was never going to tell her that she actually had my lettuce keeper, but John told her. And she was so embarrassed that she had taken my lettuce keeper. She said, well, I gave mine to somebody in the Philippines. And so I said to her, you know, I hardly ever use this. Would you like it back? She said, yes, I would. So if I was rummaging through your cupboard, it would be looking for your lettuce keeper, not mine. Anyway, that's my favorite story of Irene. And we were still good friends forever after that. There's other stories, but I won't tell them.
Good, good. Who else would like to say something? Beth would like to say something.
Well, I want to speak for the Greene Countyans here, that when John and Irene showed up in Greene County, there was a certain bit of class that was added to our community.
Oh, thank
Um,
you.
to go over to John and Irene's was a lot of fun. Just to drink tea and eat eggplant. I would have ate eggplant, but Irene was magic with eggplant. I mean, Daddy loved it, and I was just like, "It's eggplant, ugh." But she was just an amazing cook. I always wanted to try whatever she was making because it was always good. And I think probably the biggest impact that Irene had was, I think she pretty much with Esther planned my wedding. And it was a great affair. If there's anyone here that was there, it was probably the best time that I've ever had, John. I wish, and I even said it to my mother today, I wish I could go back and have that wedding again because we had such a good time, didn't we?
Yeah.
And all those beautiful teapots that I always admired all over the tables. And I was kind of obsessed with the English theme. My best friend lived in London at the time, and she came to be my maid of honor. And so, of course, I had to have John do it.
We only have 75 teapots.
Do what?
We only have 75.
75. We had a bit of English cake, and it was just beautiful. It was just so beautiful. And I just want to thank you, John, for the joy that you brought to my family
Thank you.
with Irene, the beautiful woman that she was. That's just one of my favorite memories, and I'm just so thankful that you guys got to be a part of that.
Thank you. Thank you. My daughter's just sent this up. I think it's from Sonny. Oh, it's from Maxine Bell. Maxine Bell was one of the division secretaries in the Philippines, and she's obviously sent this message here. I would be honored if my message could be read. I was delighted and proud to have had Irene as my friend in Singapore and the Philippines. Loved her company, had tons of fun with her, enjoyed eating at your home, admiring her collection of teapots. Oh, okay. Loved when Dad would bring out the tea after we ate. I loved Irene as a sister and a family. She was wise and most helpful in any situation. She helped so much when my mum visited. My heart was broken and so sad when I read your post of her passing away. But we had spoken a few times on the telephone before that. My love to you and Dad and Margot and the rest of the family. I can't wait for the Lord's return. What a grand reunion that is going to be.
Amen.
Thank you, Maxine. Thank you. We've got 1 or 2 more minutes. If anyone would like to say something.
Hi, everyone. You know who I am. I just wanted to thank everyone today who's here to celebrate my mom's life. I'm a bit nervous, and I thought I'd forget what to say, so I did write it down, Hillary. But yeah, it's incredibly comforting to see so many people who loved and cared for her here, especially those of you who have traveled quite a distance to come. Susie's mom and dad, thank you for coming. And other people too. Yeah, so the night that I arrived home, I was just flooded with kind of memories and thoughts. And here's just a few things that I thought about. And it's really in alignment with everything that everybody's been saying about her. My mom, I saw her as friendly, as beautiful, chatty, and let's be honest, a bit nosy. She loved people, and she was curious about everyone she met, genuinely interested, and she cared. It's no surprise that she became a nurse. I have no doubt that she shaped the lives of the people she cared for, but she also shaped the person I became. and my choice to build a career in social work. She really cared about the world, about social justice, and I listened and I watched as she listened to the news, and she when she saw that something wasn't right, she acted. She told me how she stopped buying South African products to boycott apartheid so long ago, and you know, she, among other protests over the years that she was part of. But she told me that I could hold firm values and beliefs, and that I never needed to explain myself to anyone for having them. And she listened to me. There's 3 pivotal moments in my life when that I really remember her kind of like sticking up for me, and it was when I chose to go to boarding school in Singapore, and I was only 10 years old. And I said, yeah, I really want to go to this boarding school because both my brothers had been to Far Eastern Academy in Singapore. But I had to do 3 years of school in 2 years to get there. It's a long story, but she helped me. She helped me do it. And at 13, I went to boarding school. And again, when I graduated from high school, this was in Virginia, and she called me up and she said, oh, we're going to Singapore. But I had already applied to a university in Washington, D.C. And I said, Mom, I want to come. And she was like, oh, okay, I'll talk to your dad. I'll figure out a way. And she found a college in Singapore. And so I went along. And yeah. And then there was another time when I had studied in South Africa for my junior year of university. And I wanted to go back. I was only meant to be there for a year. And I was desperate to go back. I had a boyfriend there. And my dad did not want me to go back. And I said to my mom, I really want to go back. I want to go back for 6 more months. And she convinced my dad. And I went back to South Africa for six more months. But each time, she let me be resilient and independent. And even when it must have been hard for her to let me go, she did. Yes, she was always so stylish and elegant, I thought. And I was always a bit more casual. And when I arrived here this time, my dad took me into her wardrobe. And it was really special to go through her clothes with my dad, choosing a few like fabulously Irene dresses to add to my own wardrobe, to bring my wardrobe up a notch in her honor. Another amazing thing about Mom is she raised 5 children, in several different countries. And I say that because now, as a mother myself, I understand what a feat that was. And I'm in awe of her. One thing that she really wanted from me, more than anything, was for me to have a husband and a child. And in the last 10 years of her life, I finally made that dream come true for me and for her. She fell in love with Murillo and with Hunter. And she sent me so many messages all the time saying how much she loved Hunter. The house feels so different without my mom around. Mummy, you are loved and you are missed. We're here to celebrate you, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah. John would like to say something.
You heard my wife speaking, Marla, and you know Irene, who also spoke a lot. And when we were in Pakistan, my wife was called the Voice of America by the local people, and Irene was called the BBC. So I just want to share that with you. It says a little bit about both of them, and they were very much appreciated. And John, I really appreciated you over the years. You are the person who I have met and worked with in the most countries of all my friends. And Angela added them up the other day, and there were six countries where our paths had crossed. So God bless you, and we thank you for your life and Irene's life. Thank you, sir.
Anyone else like to add something before we finish?
I just want to say I had the privilege of working with Irene at Tacoma Hospital. She was a great nurse, very caring, very empathetic, very sympathetic, and very accurate. And if you were her patient, you were going to get better. I don't care how sick you were. And all of her patients were my patients too, because I had to draw blood from them from time to time. And it was just a privilege and an honor to work with her.
There was none like Irene. She was special. She was different. She was a good friend. I'm going to read a poem that came from a card that I found in the last century that I would send to people when they lost a loved one. It's called The Rose Beyond the Wall. And as you listen to this, think of Irene. A rose once grew where all could see, sheltered beside a garden wall. And as the days passed swiftly by, it spread its branches straight and tall. One day, a beam of light shone through a crevice that had opened wide. The rose bent gently toward its warmth, then passed beyond to the other side. Now you who deeply feel its loss, be comforted. The rose blooms there, its beauty even greater now, nurtured by God's own loving care.
I had the honor and the privilege of being with Irene and Diane in the prison ministry. Irene really cared for those girls. She was kind, caring, sweet, but a little stern, not mean, but she really, truly loved and enjoyed that ministry. And the girls, loved her too.
Thank you, sir. Amen.
My wife, Brenda, admired Irene. And they met in Singapore, the three ladies. They were musketeers. They were into everything. Brenda really admired, and we'd come by twice a year going to Chattanooga from the DC area. And you never stopped. You always stopped to have lunch with John and Irene. By the time the door opened, she had her mouth in fourth gear, and it stayed that way until the door closed again. It was just fun being around her. As everyone has said, Irene was a lot of fun. Brenda's parents passed away, so we hadn't come by in a long time. We were going to bury Brenda, stopped in. We were just stunned to find out that a week later she passed away. It really hurt.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry, I'm hogging the microphone again, but I'm going to read this time. I just wanted to share, remember Roger Handicides, I'm sure. So I shared with him that Irene had passed, and he sent me this email. I was sorry to hear of Irene's passing. It made me think about my first introduction to her, my first time at summer camp in 1960. Irene and several other older campers were there dressed in beatnik, black stovepipe jeans and black sweaters along with black sunglasses. Can you imagine your mom like that? As an 11-year-old boy, I was enamored by these cool guys. I believe John was there too. That was the beginning of my friendship with them. And I just wanted to add that you and Irene were known as the cool couple at Newbold.
On behalf of my wife, on behalf of Gina, when we moved here 5 years ago, you guys welcomed. Oh man, now I'm gonna cry. You didn't want to come. Now I'm gonna cry. You guys welcomed us with open arms. We came with our sick child, and Irene. ah, Irene and John made sure that every Saturday they would come by here until they earned the affection of Daniel, so he could wave, he could say hi. Connected with Gina because kind of like Gina, always asking questions about you, wanting to know how you're doing. So for us, it wasn't noisy. It was connection. It was caring. At a point when we desperately needed it. And then, what was the other thing? Yes, Gina really admire her how she dressed, always well dressed. She will be missed. Our kids miss her. We miss her. We miss the care, the genuine care that she brought. Because we knew that when she was coming to see us, she didn't want anything from us. She just wanted to show us love and show us Jesus.
I'm really happy to say that Irene became family to me. Like everyone said, she always had a smile on her face. She was always happy. Yeah, she was always a bit overprotective of Jasper. Didn't want him, getting himself into trouble, catching frogs and whatever. But she will be forever missed, and looking forward to that time that we can all be together again, and she can continue to be overprotective of Jasper.
I worked with Irene at the hospital, Tacoma, and she asked me one day, she wanted me to do something. She said, "Do you care to do it?" I said, "No, I don't care to do that." Well, a little while later, she come back and she said, "You done what I asked you to do, but you said you didn't care to do that." And I said, "No, I don't care to do that." This went on 2 or 3 times, and she finally come back and she says, "What does that mean?" I told her, I said, it meant that I didn't care to go and do that for you. "Oh, you're really country." I said, "Yeah, I'm really country." Irene was just the best. She talked about her kids and her grandkids all the time. Y'all were so loved by that beautiful lady. Thank you.
Yeah, Irene and Diane did prison ministries forever here, and I had the privilege of going with them. I don't know, maybe 10 years ago is when I started. And Irene, it didn't matter whether it was prison or a women's group or wherever she was, she always talked about family. She always talked about her travels and all the places she lived and how well her and John got along and that they never argued. And I just think it was really cool for her to show such a special relationship, both of you guys, the whole time I've known you. And it was funny because Irene Because you think she's a good dresser, and often, John or her would compliment me on a dress or vice versa. And it was really funny because I came to church one Sabbath, and she made some comment like, "Oh, you're wearing boots to church," and I was like, "Oh, that must not be a thing in England." But anyway, she was just always positive, always smiling, and just fun to be around.
Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to take the ashes and we're going to spread them underneath the blossom trees that are on the roadside of our church property. We planted those trees a few years ago, and they begin to look very nice in the spring now when they all come into blossom. And when they do come into blossom, I will remember Irene. So as we leave, the pastor's going to open the gates. We'll just have some more video slides for 5 minutes so you can leave exactly when you want. And we're going to the other church to spread the ashes. And I would like to thank you all for coming and sharing with us and thinking about the life of Irene. It was so nice. Thank you.